Time for a pledge of allegiance.
Okay.
Please join us.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We will begin tonight with a call to order, and then we will ordain our acting clerk. Lemke, will you please establish a quorum?
Sure. Kirby Anderson?
Yes.
Natalie Knutson's absent. Melanie Cole?
Here.
Matthew Lemke's here. Misty Hermes is absent. Steve Vigasa?
Here.
We do have a quorum.
All right, thank you. I'm looking for a motion to approve our agenda for the evening.
So moved.
And a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion on the agenda? Hearing none, all in favor of approving, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. The agenda is approved, and we will begin tonight with a public hearing, property tax abatement for parking lot construction and improvement project. And we have tonight Jody Zasba from Ehlers Incorporated, or
Ehlers and Associates.
Okay, who has been working with our school district on putting together this project financing, and take it away, Jody.
Great, thank you so much. So the first slide, if you advance, just shows the agenda for our hearing tonight. So we'll talk about the statutory authority for the abatement, the scope of the parking lot project, the approval process, next steps, some bond and levy information, and then allow for public comments. So the statutory authority for abatements, the references are listed there, but they were first authorized by the state in 1997 and really intended to be an economic development tool for local governments. The Minnesota Department of Education, though, did approve school districts using abatement bonds for construction or renovation of parking lots and parking structures. So a number of school districts have used this tool, this financing tool, to finance those parking lot projects. There is a limitation on the debt service payment, so we make sure that we pay attention to that, so they may not exceed the greater of 10% of your net tax capacity of the district, or $200,000. The scope of this parking lot project is for the construction improvement at Lincoln School. And then in terms of the abatement process, we do identify parcels for abatement. So the school district property tax amounts have to be sufficient to cover your annual debt service levies. The property owners of those parcels, though, still pay taxes in the same manner and at the same rates, and the county doesn't do anything different, the state really doesn't do anything different, but you do add the amount of abated taxes on as an additional debt service levy, and MDE will do that on your behalf when we submit the schedule to them. So you adopted the resolution calling for the abatement hearing at your meeting in August, and that hearing notice was published in the newspaper. Tonight we're holding the hearing. And then there's a resolution granting the abatement that's on the agenda for tonight. And you'll add the estimated amount of the abated taxes to your proposed levy for the upcoming year. So that's not on the levy report yet until we submit that to the Department of Education after your board meeting tonight. And then eventually we will take competitive bids for the bonds. And then you would award the sale of the bonds and provide that updated tax levy to the Department of Education. So again, tonight, after the hearing, you will have two action items on your agenda. One is the resolution granting the abatement, and the other is the resolution authorizing the sale of bonds. At a future board meeting, then, you would award the sale of bonds, and then we generally close on those bonds about 3 to 4 weeks after you award sale, and then you'll be able to move forward with your parking lot project. So the amount of the abatement bonds to be authorized, we set it at $1.6 million. We're thinking it's probably going to be closer to about $1,515,000, but we've got some moving parts on this project, so we just wanted to make sure that you have sufficient authorization to move forward with this once we get to that point. So that does include the estimate of bond issuance costs. And we are planning for 10 tax abatement levies, so starting with taxes payable in 2023. And for now, we're just estimating the average interest rate at 4%, but again, we would take competitive bids for that interest rate. We are planning to combine this bond issue with a few other components. One is a refinancing of the 2015 bonds, and then possible capital facilities and facilities maintenance bonds for other projects at Lincoln School. And we talked about that whole overall package at a finance committee meeting in August. So went through all of those schedules and talked about the different components. So the way that the refunding bonds are set up, we have an early payoff on that to have some savings for your taxpayers. And by combining all of these different components, we're able to lower the cost of issuance. So if you did each of these components separately, you would incur the cost of issuance, and so this just allows you to save some on that. And then the district is also planning to use some general fund revenues toward the cost of these projects at Lincoln School. So that was, it's estimated at just under $600,000. The tax rate for your existing debt service levies for taxes payable in '23 is scheduled to go down. So even including these components and with the offset from the refinancing, we're able to keep a nice level tax rate for taxes payable in '23 as compared to 2022. And that is demonstrated on this chart right here. So I guess the little legend didn't come through there, but I can describe what you're seeing there. So the gray part is your existing debt, and the taxes payable you're at the bottom. And then you can see the blue part is the possible abatement bonds, and you can see that, again, the 2022 and 2023 being nice and level. And then when you look out to 2028, you can see the payoff of your 2015 bonds, and that's at a point in time when your debt service levies are scheduled to decrease significantly. And then we do show the possible facilities maintenance, health and safety bonds for indoor air quality projects over at Lincoln. And those are interest payments for a few years, and then we pay them off pretty quickly once your debt is declining. And that is it. So the refunding savings then from your existing bonds is that dotted white line. So you can see that the bonds right now are scheduled to go out to 2034. So because you have capacity to pay those off earlier, just like if you paid off a home mortgage earlier, then you can save some money for your taxpayers, which is always a good thing. So that is how it is set up, and if we have anybody that is here to make any comments about the abatement bonds, then this would be your opportunity to do that, or if there's any questions that anybody else has, I'm happy to answer those at this time.
When you say the competitive rate of 4% out for bids, and that would be, when we're selling the bonds, that would be the money that the school district would earn on the bonds that would go toward the project.
That would be the interest rate that you would pay when you're making the payments. Yeah,
All right.
yeah. But as after you issue the bonds, you'll have funds on hand like 3 to 4 weeks after the bonds are awarded. And as you won't need the money right away to make your project cost, so you'll be able to invest that, and you will be able to earn a decent amount right now because rates have gone up from a financing perspective, but they've also gone up from an investment perspective. So of course you'll earn some interest as those bond proceeds are available before you need them to pay the project costs.
That's what stuck in my mind.
Perfect. Yeah.
Okay.
And you said they're paying off old bonds, but did I hear that right? You're paying off other bonds as well?
One
And then-
component of it
Okay,
is a
yeah.
refinancing of bonds that you issued previously, correct?
Okay. And those were at a higher rate, lower rate?
Yes, those would be at a higher rate than what you would be
Okay.
paying then going forward. Plus, you would shorten up the term on that bond
Okay.
issue.
Okay.
Yep.
Other comments from the board, questions? On the facility side, Superintendent Drake, do we hope and intend that this project would go forward yet this fall?
That is our hope. We hope to hear back from the department in the next week to 2 weeks with the final answer on our request.
Okay, very good. All right, well, thank you, Jody,
You are welcome.
for the presentation. Appreciate that very much. Okay, and we will continue on with our meeting. The next item on the agenda is a resolution on acknowledgements. We have one acknowledgement where we would like to thank the Friends of the Prairie Wetland Center for their donation of an emergency radio set to the Cleveland Elementary School. So we appreciate that. And I will offer that resolution and move for its adoption. Will there be a second?
Second.
All right. Any discussion? Clerk, will you please, roll?
Kirby Anderson.
Yes.
Steve Biggessa.
Yes.
Melanie Cole.
Yes,
Matthew Lemke, yes. Resolution passes.
thank you. Moving on to our board reports, and I will begin with Kirby Anderson.
Okay, nothing on the activity side. On the finance committee, we did meet on August 10th, that was a Wednesday. Just referenced that meeting, and because we just had the tax abatement thing, we don't really have to cover that again. We did go through the rest of the Lincoln project timeline, and I think right now, I think Jeff has put in his report, the main holdup right now appears to be with the funding for the HVAC system. So I think we pretty much went through everything, so if that goes through, then I think we can get on track. If it doesn't, then I'll leave that to you to report later on. But that was the finance committee meeting. Unless there are any questions on that, I can jump to 544. Jeff and I did meet with the 544 Foundation just this last Thursday, September 8th. We had our regular monthly meeting, followed by the annual meeting. Some of the highlights from the regular meeting, we have 110 requests in for the classroom wish list. 68 of those have been fully funded. We anticipate that they'll all be funded before we're through. We have 103 of our staff members who have signed up for payroll deduction to contribute to the 544 Foundation. We will be making a presentation. I believe our directors, Mindy Feuder, is going to make a presentation to Kiwanis next week, what the foundation does and some of the highlights. We did some of the activities that we've done with the foundation. We did the back to school and service lunch the first week of when the teachers came back. We served right around 450 staff members, and taco in a bag, and then we did taco in a bag last Friday night for Otter Pride Night, and we served 500 people in 2.5 hours. So well attended Otter Pride Night. You two were there in the gym, and it was everybody was having a great time, and the Otters won. So other things coming up, Hall of Fame events. We have there's a couple people we're going to honor at the Hall of Fame event, the weekend of homecoming on September 30th and October 1st. So that's about it for the regular meeting. On the annual meeting, just kind of a recap of everything that happened in the last year, including the $28,444 that the foundation gave in grants to our district, $41,000 in scholarships that were given out. We had some of the fundraisers with the golf tournament, the in-service lunch, which we do every year, the Otter Pride Night, which we did again last week. Almost $30,000 in grants on the Give to the Max Day. Updating the display cases here. We did 2 distinguished alumni last year, and a couple retired staff reunions. And I believe we gave each teacher $100 through the foundation to spend on classroom materials as they saw fit. So foundation's a good deal, and they're continuing to do well financially, even though the stock market has been, some of the investments they have been going up and down and then back up again. So right now, as of the end of August, their foundation is sitting at about $1.8 million. So it's a pretty impressive a number, and so that will continue to do more good for our district. So,
Okay.
any questions on that?
No?
Thank you.
Thank you. For my board reports, I will start with building and grounds because Natalie usually reports on that, and since she's not here, there was a meeting between the building and grounds committee and Superintendent Drake and a few of the city council members and city administration talk about a location for a new school. I unfortunately did not make that meeting, but I did want to note that that was something that is on the radar for the school board and taking a look at sites. And then, of course, Kirby already gave a relatively succinct update on the Lincoln project. which is always an ongoing quest. It seems like always. And then Region 1 Board had our meeting last month, and they've developed their own time tracker, timekeeping system. They're developing a mobile app for that, and which one of the neat things about that mobile app is that it would, the employees can log on and track their time, but only from the, what do you call the correct name for the web address for the school district. So you can't do it from home. You have to be logged.
IP address.
Yeah, so it has to be in proximity to the correct IP address, so it's got a little bit in that. But Time Tracker, which is a product many schools have used, is ending at the end of the school, or at the end of this year. We're doing payroll service. We discussed last year's final budget because we didn't have a July meeting, and then staffing changes. So we had a meeting today for the Fergus Falls Area Special Education Cooperative. We have a new director, Jackie Ward, who's been here since the end of June. She is getting immersed in the program and the community and what we offer and what her vision might be. And so she has been really boots on the ground, taking a lot of action. The Joint Powers Board for that Special Ed Cooperative has requested an update to the bylaws and perhaps a kind of a shifting of the functioning. So she's involved in undertaking that, and that is something she reported on today, how we're checking with our attorney and making sure that we are in good standing to make the adjustments. A big part of our meeting today was talking about the staffing, just the difficulty in all the a lot of the special ed categories, speech language school, psychologist, and at this point, unfortunately, find ourselves piecing together a couple of different employees to cover services for a school. Not at all optimal, but at least we're able to do that. So, kind of counting our grateful. So that's about it for my board reports. Any questions on any of those things? All right, then we'll continue on with Matt. Let's see, next is, Matt Lemke.
My reports are really short. Lewis Country Service Co-op Board has not met. We're meeting in October, actually, so we're running a conference, for co-ops. And then Minnesota High School Week does not meet until October either, so I have nothing to report.
All right. Stephen Biggessa.
Curriculum review is not met, and I'm not sure if Amelia is gonna change the format, or we normally met on, I think, the third Monday of the month, Jeff?
Starting in October.
October, okay, so, got nothing to report yet.
Okay. Very good. We'll turn then to Superintendent Drake for his report.
Well, good evening.
Sorry, Jim, that's my fault.
As Coach Harbaugh said when he was announced as the new Michigan Wolverines head coach, a lesser athlete would have fallen at that opportunity. So, good evening. Very pleased to report that we've had a tremendous start to our school year. I had the pleasure of going around into all of our buildings the first couple days, and including for the most part, our brand new kindergarten students. Things seem to be kind of old hat almost immediately. So it's one of the hallmarks of a successful school year in my mind is when a couple days into it, people have already established routines and there's a level of comfort with what's going on, and it almost feels like you never left from the last spring. So my appreciation to my colleagues for all the work that went into the start of the school year. We had a really nice showing during our open house. It was a beautiful evening that night, so families were out, lots of children in the schools, and that just kind of carried over that excitement right into our brand new school year. I thought our workshop week was really positive, although we packed a lot in. There was a lot of training for staff, This is the opportunity for the building level administrators to kind of set the tone and expectations for the year. And a wonderful speaker to kind of close us out with kind of our own mental health and well-being and a little bit of humor. And so that kind of launched us into the Labor Day weekend and prepared us for September 6th. During that workshop week, the FFEA announced our Teacher of the Year, Catherine Anderson. Catherine Anderson's our work-based learning teacher at Kennedy Secondary School. And she does a tremendous job working with the community to find new placements for kids. I have the pleasure of traveling to various civic meetings where Catherine is commonly a guest speaker, and she does a very, very nice job representing our school district, the talents of our students, and being that outreach person connecting with local businesses. So very well deserving. She's just a wonderful person, and so very blessed to have her on the staff, and congratulations to Catherine. OTTER Pride Night, my appreciation to everyone that worked that event. It was packed. We had families all over, we had kids all over, inside the building and outside the building. The kids were strewn everywhere from the bleachers all the way to the far reaches of the playground. And it was a beautiful night again. It was wonderful to see the community come out in support of the school and having the kids having fun. And so we won the game on a last second field goal. I think there were 6 seconds left. So it was a nice OTTER victory that evening, and everyone went home, I think, really pleased with the experience. So again, my appreciation to everyone that helped out with that event. This is a little small, at least for my aging eyes, but I did want to give you an enrollment snapshot. And I'm always a little bit reticent on enrollment because there is a little bit of risk for duplication. We have students at times that are enrolled both part-time at Kennedy Secondary School, but they may be part-time IQ, so it can be a little bit challenging teasing out where that student's being counted. But our enrollment numbers are very, very healthy at this point. We start out with a kindergarten class that we thought was going to be about 163 or so. It's at 200. 15 of those then, just to clarify, are holdovers from the previous year, which is about twice as many as normal. But that 200 number is a very, very positive figure for us. And then as you go down the list, I basically have the entire district enrollment right now, minus OTTER preschool at 3,001. That includes our regular brick and mortar, our brick and mortar at the ALC, and then our IQ Academy enrollment. And then the next column over with the tabulations, that would include our traditional just brick and mortar students at a little over 2,500. And then 142 students in our OTTER preschool. Most of our offerings at OTTER preschool are full, or we only have 1 or 2 slots available. And then 485 currently enrolled in IQ Academy. So the numbers probably get even just a touch smaller off on the right, but this is some longitudinal comparisons on where our enrollment has been over the last several years compared to what we're showing right now. What's really interesting to me, first of all, at the kind of the peak of the pandemic, following that first spring, we saw a pretty significant drop in brick and mortar enrollment. And then you see that kind of burgeoning 760, 759 number in IQ Academy. So you saw that shift moving to online learning that a lot of families took. But now, as you look at the following year and then comparison to this year, we really have recaptured our in-person brick and mortar population. The IQ numbers are down to start the year. We know that that will continue to grow through about the end of February into March. That'll hit its peak. But these are very, very healthy numbers for us to continue to build on. So one thing, a little caveat here on the ALC at 109, that is probably a historic high. When I first came to the district, I believe that we would have started the year at the ALC probably somewhere, well, I guess we can see it over on the right, in that kind of 80 range, mid-80s or so. So that has increased significantly since then, which makes it even more imperative that the bathroom gets completed fairly soon. So this is a snapshot of I really like what the secondary school has done with this one-look calendar, so I thought I would share just the month of September. It's a really quick reference point for both staff and our families about what's going on. So you can see that we've got Picture Day coming up pretty just around the corner. And then we have a relatively early homecoming celebration. So the week of September 26th, we'll start with coronation and then move into the week of homecoming celebration with the traditional homecoming football game and the dance that week. Facility updates. So on the left is the infamous bathroom that I referenced a couple seconds ago. That is as of about 2 o'clock this afternoon. That's where it's at for the public. This was originally scheduled to be completed on our first day of school, September 6th. It's gone through a couple of revisions on the timeline, the latest one being October 5th. I do want to extend my appreciation to the City of Fergus Falls, who has very graciously worked with us in opening up the city bathrooms over by the ice arena for our ALC students to use in the interim. The photo in the middle of the update is the front side of the Roosevelt Gym building, and so that is getting ready to have the canopy replaced that was taken down by the falling snow and ice late last winter, early spring. And then there's 2 other canopies on the back side of the building that are also undergoing some repair. And then the photo to my right that's just the groundbreaking for the new ice chiller system that we have going in. For our families out there, the last day we will have air conditioning this fall is Friday, September 23rd, with the anticipation that we turn ownership over to the City of Fergus Falls with the anhydrous ammonia chiller on Monday, September 26th. Update on Lincoln. I've heard through good authority, but not directly, that Chris Kubish with MDE looked at our review and comment favorably. And so the only holdup right now is communications with the department on the long-term facilities and maintenance, health and safety portion. That's about $4 million worth of financing that's very, very crucial for this project moving forward. We have reached out to the finance director for a second review, and as I said earlier, we hope to hear possibly this week, if not no later than the end of next week, on how that second review will turn out for us. But I think that we had a strong argument to be made, and hopefully we receive good news on that front. And with that, I will turn it over to any questions.
Anyone? Questions for the superintendent? Thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate it, Superintendent Craig. We'll move on to our general consent items, and for consideration of approval in this portion of the meeting are our minutes from August 22nd, our last board meeting, and then also our bills and treasurers report, which we will learn more from Kirby Anderson.
Yes, I'll start with the treasurer's report. We had a beginning balance of $16.6 million. This time of year, we have quite a few receipts coming in, just over $5 million, and our outgoing was about $2.5 million. So our ending balance is over $19 million. So we're still holding a healthy fund balance, which is a good thing right now. Again, a lot of that is timing. On the check register and bills, Melanie and I met with Renee prior to this meeting and reviewed, and we're looking at a number of questions that we had, and Renee answered them all very, in very good fashion, of course. We had some scholarships that came through. We had some cash postings or cash withdrawals for our activities department, which was clarified for us. There were some streaming cameras for $6,000 to be in each photo that replaced the ones that we had that were used for a different purpose. We had several software purchases. Adobe was one of them. We had some electrical repairs from Cassette and some compressor repairs at Cleveland. I guess maybe the one question, Center Stage and Draper, we had some new gym controls for the baskets. I guess was that for
Yeah.
Roosevelt, do you think? or
No,
was it
it's here at Kennedy.
Okay.
They went out this
Okay.
summer.
Because I think we talked about if that would have been for Roosevelt, then it could have been a different funding source. Okay, that clarifies that. Melanie caught that one. We bought some shades for Roosevelt from Fergus Home and Hardware for just under $9,000. Activity supplies to Huddle, $13,500 for the activities department. JK Sports, we had about $7,000 for balls, gym supplies, and jerseys. Mission Mechanical, $7,700 for the HVAC and part of the bathrooms and toilets. And some $1,000 for coach's luncheon at Palmer's, and I think that was about it for the things that we had questions on. So, thank you for answering our questions on those. Anybody have any other questions or comments?
I do not.
All right, that's my
Okay.
report.
Thank you. We'll turn to Elaine Jenke for personnel items.
Good evening, everyone. Still a few changes here with the personnel. Under support staff hires, Heather Johnston, student support aide, Molly McGuire, student support aide, Kate McNally, a CNA instructor. She'll be replacing Sue Risbrud, who's been our instructor for, since we've started the program, at least 5-6 years. And she's just trading her in, so we'll see her resignation, I'm sure, at the next board meeting here. Amy Hopper, long-term paraeducator substitute over at McKinley. Linda West, a long-term special education paraprofessional here at Kennedy. Lori Nash, a piano accompanist here at Kennedy. And Amy Toy, hallway supervisor at Kennedy. Support staff resignations, Michelle Johansson, paraeducator at McKinley, and Robin Hopper, special education paraprofessional at Adams. Certified staff hires and contract changes, Mark Aho, we have an overload contract for first semester for him. Heather Heikus, it's a reduction in school of choice just due to going down from 4 days to 2 days right now currently. So there is a reduction in her contract. Heather Miller, there's an increase with hers due to student enrollment with IQ Academy along with Jennifer Carlson. Both of those are elementary teachers. Administrative hire, we have Nancy Reard, special education administrator at .4 FTE. And so I'll go on to the next one up too, is the 2022-24 agreement between the school district and the Minnesota School Employees Association custodian secretary personnel. That contract is ready for board approval. So I would recommend approval for those items.
Okay. Very good. Is there a motion to approve the general consent items?
So moved.
And a second?
I'll second that.
All right. Any discussion on any of these items? All in favor of approving, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. All right, I will pass by old business and on to new business where we have a resolution relating to the property tax abatement for parking lot projects granting the abatement. And I am going to shortcut this because it's quite a long resolution which will be printed in its entirety in our board minutes. And I'm just gonna take an aside with Elaine to see how much of this I'm
Oh, sure.
needing to convey.
I think, okay. think if we just read this first right here, we're just, when you're thinking the authorization and recitals.
Yep, I think that sounds
Okay.
good. All right.
And like you
Thank you.
stated, it will be in its entirety on our minutes too, so, and it's also in its entirety on our school board agenda.
Yeah, and we also had a presentation from Jody Zasba at the beginning of the meeting. So, just with the narrative, be it resolved by the school board of Independent School District number 544, Fergus Falls Public Schools, Minnesota, as follows. Section 1, authorization and recitals. Number 1.01, the district pursuant to Minnesota statute, section 469.1812 to 469.1815, as amended, is authorized to grant an abatement of certain property taxes levied against net tax capacity imposed by the district on parcels of property by the adoption of a resolution specifying the terms of the abatement. Section 1.02, the district intends to undertake construction of and improvements to parking lots at the various sites in the district and benefiting certain property within the district boundaries identified on Exhibit A, which is attached here too. 1.03, the district has proposed to finance the improvements by granting an abatement of the property taxes imposed by the district on the property and issuing bonds to provide an equal amount of the sum of said proposed property tax abatement. 1.04, pursuant to the act, this board on September 12th, 2022, conducted a public hearing on the desirability of granting the proposed property tax abatement. Notice of the public hearing was duly published as required by law in a newspaper of general interest and readership in the district more than 10 days, but not more than 30 days prior to the date of the public hearing. The form of said notice and the publication of said notice prior to the date of adoption of this resolution is ratified and confirmed in all respects. That is a general summary. I would offer this resolution and move for its adoption. Is there a second?
Seconded.
All right, any discussion? Hearing none, I will turn to the clerk.
Steve Vigasa.
Yes.
Kirby Anderson.
Yes.
Melanie Cole.
Yes.
Matt Lemke. Yes, the resolution passes.
All right, and in a follow-up
There's a problem with that, Melanie, also.
of government work, we will do another resolution.
I think we've kind of been right there, yes. It might be nice to, let me see. I think this is gonna say it all, we can go right to here.
Okay,
I would say.
Mhm.
It's hard to cut down a resolution that's pages and pages.
It is. We don't want to,
If we go get our steps in, you could read it and we can just go right.
meetings could take a half an hour to walk. I don't in any way intend to deprive the public of any of the information contained in here. However, it's legalese, and it is nearly 4 typewritten pages, and we all have other things to do. Those that are interested, again, are invited to review the entirety of the resolution on our board page in our minutes. So, resolution number 2, is a resolution stating the intention of the school board to issue general obligation facilities maintenance, capital facilities, tax abatement, and refunding bonds, series 2022A, in the approximate aggregate principal amount of $14,075,000, and taking other actions with respect hereto. Be it resolved by the school board of Independent School District number 544, Fergus Falls Public Schools, Ottertail and Wilkin Counties, Minnesota, as follows. Number 1, under the background, the board proposes to issue general obligation facilities maintenance bonds, capital facilities bonds, tax abatement bonds, and refunding bonds. In connection therewith, it is hereby determined that subsection A, facilities maintenance bonds, subsection I, number 1, I.
Yeah.
The district is authorized under the provisions of Minnesota Statutes, Chapter 475, as amended, and Minnesota Statutes, Section 123B.595, as amended, to issue general obligation facilities maintenance bonds for the purpose of financing certain facilities and site maintenance projects approved by the Minnesota Commissioner of Education. Two eyes in parentheses. Somebody better go back to school. I think it's the board chair. Okay, the board hereby finds and determines that it's necessary and expedient to the sound financial management of the affairs of the district to issue its general obligation facilities maintenance bonds in the aggregate principal amount not to exceed $6,400,000 pursuant to the act in section 123B.595 to finance the costs of certain facilities and site maintenance projects of the district, which are included in the district's 10 years facilities plan for fiscal year 2024. It is there I will end the reading. You get the idea. So I will once again offer this resolution and move for its adoption and call for a second.
I'll second that.
All right. Any discussion on this? I would note that the final sentence said, this resolution is intended to constitute a declaration of official intent for purposes of the reimbursement regulations. So, so that is kind of the purpose behind having two resolutions that are quite similar. Anything further before we vote? Clerk?
Steve Vigasa.
Yes.
Kirby Anderson.
Yes.
Melanie Cole.
Yes.
Matt Lemke, yes. The resolution passes.
All right, thank you very much. And we have one more action item for the board tonight. Looking for a motion to approve a memorandum of understanding between the school district and Otter Tail Family Services Collaborative, which began on July 1st and will run till June 30th of next year. Would someone make a motion to approve that memorandum?
So moved.
And second?
I'll second that.
All right, any discussion on that?
Are you gonna be the school board member that's participating in the governance council, or who is gonna be doing that? Do we know yet?
I can be.
Okay.
I have been in the past.
Sure.
There's
Okay.
not a lot of call for activity.
Right.
But Superintendent Drake will poke me if I need to do more.
Okay.
Correct?
Basically just the attendance at the annual meeting typically.
Sure.
Yep.
Okay.
So,
Okay, thank you.
all right. Anything else? All in favor of approving the memorandum of understanding between us and the service collaborative, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. All right, that passes, and that concludes our regular agenda for the evening. We have a work session, which you probably wouldn't be surprised, but it's going to talk about facilities again. And more about facilities, and that is what we do. And then we'll talk about our facilities rental handbook, how the public can use the facilities. So, with that, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All right, a second?
Second.
Any discussion on adjournment? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. All right, we are adjourned.